Just about 9 a.m. and the lights are on because it's so dark because there's such a thick cloud. Can you hear me now? Testing the audio. The temperature outdoors is 60 degrees. The temperature indoors is 65 degrees. Have you turned on your heat in your house yet? Okay, that audio check worked. Can you hear the crickets? This is my crowded garage. Now, because the structure of the house, like the garage and such, have kept warm with all those sunny days we've had, I did not turn on the heat in the house. And we're going out the garage door because I think T-Rex is not going to be too pleased, and he's going to go out and then come right back in. T-Rex, out. Not liking this. Day 3 in a row on Cape Cod and the islands of this nor'easter with rain. And the rain has backed toward the west, and it's actually raining all the way into Worcester County this morning. A few days ago, the Euro was the only guidance that had the rainfall backing to the west today. I don't think any other forecast did, and even since then, the Euro lost that. So we continue the play-by-play on this weather system. I'm calling it a nor'easter, even though it's not your classic ramp up over North Carolina and rip into the Gulf of Maine. It is a benchmark low pressure system, pretty much in the same spot it's been. And I say benchmark, remember 70 degrees west, 40 degrees north, and that's a location on the latitude and longitude grid, but it's also the benchmark for the worst storms in New England. The nor'easters go out there and they stall. The blizzard of 78 was a benchmark storm. The Halloween hurricane 91 actually evolved into a benchmark storm. That one backed way to the west. And then there are other storms that are quite memorable, notable, that are not benchmark storms but can do a tremendous amount of damage in a very short time. And Matt and Danielle Noyce on 1 Degree Outside remind us that today is the anniversary of the 1938 hurricane, the Long Island Express, whatever you want to call it. The wind on Blue Hill that day gusted to 186 miles per hour, by far the worst storm in a century in New England. That was a fast mover. No one really saw it coming. People went to school. It was horrible. Nowadays, we can see things coming, but still, sometimes the unexpected occurs, like the amount of rain that's come out of this system. Now, we did mention several times that the guidance, just about all the guidance, had printed out about a half a foot of rain within 50 miles of the Cape Cod Canal, and then it kind of all backed off of that. Well, guess what? We did end up with a half a foot of rain within 55 miles of the Cape Cod Canal. Here's the 3-day rainfall. In the last 24 hours, we added another 3 to 4 inches on top of what began really back on, Wednesday night, Thursday morning. Now we're up to 6.7 inches in Orleans and still counting. It's pouring outside. And the surprise, I guess, of the event so far, which the surprises are not done, is how much rain fell on the New Hampshire and Maine seacoast. 0.6 inches in Kennebec, Maine yesterday, last night really. And did anyone forecast that? So if this were winter and you were in Maine, you'd be waking up to a plowable snowfall when they said all the storm should miss off to the south and east. That is the nature of these multi-day nor'easters. T-Rex does not want to come out at all. Oh, look, a ruler. Let's go measure the snow. I had this bucket out back. It's my weeding bucket, and in the weeding bucket I keep my machete. And this bucket was dry when I left last time. And now let's see how much water. Okay, turn it over, Tim. There it is. 5.5 inches of rain in the bucket here since the storm began nearly 72 hours ago. The hydrangea really needed it. I didn't water that hydrangea all summer. And fortunately, it's come in a gentle enough fashion without the tropical downpours, just a steady, moderate rain for occasionally heavy for 3 days, that we did not wash out all this seed we planted. Remember that 1.5 inches of rain we got 3 weeks ago with it all happened in a half hour and an hour. So that washed out all our seed right here. But Scott and Kim, there's still the egg toss splat right there. Remember the egg toss back in August? So the grass is doing well. The water's running downhill. And there are certainly some deep puddles around, but the ground was so dry. Well, actually, you know what? Dry. I was going to say it could absorb all the water, but your dry ground creates this hard layer, and it's hard for the water to get into that layer, but I think it's seeping through now. My brother Kevin was digging yesterday. He said it was dusty about a half inch down below. Come on, Rex. Come on, Rex. you got to come outside. We got to, take care of business. Unless you want a diaper or learn how to use the toilet, you're coming outdoors for a moment. Yeah, I know. So play-by-play, right? The vertical azimuth display, velocity. I always get that confused. Velocity azimuth display shows the wind up in the sky, and you can see it coming from the northeast. And the Boston radar about 7 o'clock this morning, all the way up to 20,000 feet. And then if you go all the way up to 30,000 feet, one thing, that means the precipitation is detectable up to 30,000 feet. And two, it means you can see what the wind is doing up there. It's from the south-southeast at the top of this cloud, about 25, 30 knots. So it's a weak upper level flow, and there's a strong pressure gradient at the ground. T-Rex is done. And those cloud tops up to 30,000 feet, that's a little taller than Mount Everest, are casting the shadow. That big cloud over eastern Massachusetts casting a shadow over Route 495 this morning. And you can see the convection going all the way out into central Worcester County and southern New Hampshire. Is it raining at your house, Weir? And then an abrupt edge to the cloud with a serious shadow cast over Vermont and western Massachusetts, where in Vermont today is the 20th sunny day in a row. And it's gorgeous at Mount Mansfield, and the foliage is coming on strong, so there's some beautiful weather. We were on the streak of just beautiful weather, and then there's this weather on Cape Cod. I'm thinking of Vermont. There's a pumpkin way off in Colchester, and our friend... Oh, he's slipping my name. I'm slipping your name now. I can't remember, even though I just looked at it a few minutes ago. I put so much in my head. Is bringing his 800-pound pumpkin up to Colchester, Vermont, where there's a way off. And also the big Eastern States Exposition, the Big E, is happening in West Springfield, where the sun is also shining. And Anson Tibbs of the Vermont Agricultural Society showing off the Vermont building this morning. So there's always beautiful weather somewhere, and there's always not so beautiful weather somewhere. So back to this Cape Cod situation. We chased yesterday, found the ocean flooding and the street flooding. And Marlo Garnsworthy, she's always posting from the National Seashore, was there yesterday as the bottom section of the stairway at Marconi Beach was being removed by Mother Nature. Demolition job by Mother Nature. It's about the 5th time these stairs have been taken out at Marconi by storms in the last decade. And she was there watching it happen. Then she was there this morning, and she got this image. So you can see that balcony right there. Well, usually there's 2 more sets of stairs going down from that balcony down to the beach. So the Marconi stairs are closed again. And this is now what? We've gone through about 3 high tides with this storm, and we got about 3 more to go. And she said even at low tide this morning, it was not that low. The tide didn't go out very much, with the buoys registering 11-foot seas at 11 seconds. That's a major, powerful swell, and the wind is still sustained at 25 knots, just about over the ocean. And the fetch, that is the ocean wind coming from the east, goes out all the way to the south of Newfoundland. That's a huge fetch, and that's why it's so powerful, and the erosion is so strong, not to mention we just had a full moon. And, I talk about wind. It doesn't seem to be very windy right here, right now, but there are plenty of places where the wind is still gusting. I'm kind of protected here on the south side of this house. The wind is air moving from high to low pressure. So it's a weak low. We looked at the benchmark low. So where's the high pressure system? Well, it's way up in the Arctic Circle. That's right. It's a 1033 millibar high pressure system near Greenland. And that air is flowing all the way down into northern New England, where this morning in northern Maine it was 36 degrees. Now remember, it was record warm here a couple days ago, so that was a serious backdoor front. So that's kind of a wild card that this backdoor front came in and is playing a role now that you cooled off the air mass, and that cooler air is more dense. So now we do get some of the overrunning that's occurring in central Massachusetts, and that's one of the reasons that rain is backing towards the west, because that colder air infiltrated this storm. The storm, some people say it's not a major storm. Well, the damage is being done, and it's going to pour all day today in eastern Massachusetts. Now, this is not my forecast. This is the forecast by the NAM, and the NAM can be crazy, and let's hope it is crazy, because it's saying between 8 a.m. this morning and tomorrow afternoon, we're expecting another 8 to 9 inches of rain. That's wrong. Okay, let's be more realistic, and let's go to the HRRR and try and time out this rainfall. Bands of rain continue to spin toward the west throughout the entire day and all the way into almost the Connecticut River Valley before falling apart in the much drier air. Dew point on Mount Washington, for example, this morning was only 23, so it's much drier air, but we have such a long ocean fetch. Anyhow, tomorrow it looks like the rain is pretty much done. It will stay windy, and it'll probably stay cloudy and drizzly and chilly anywhere in eastern Massachusetts, even the New Hampshire seacoast and parts of Rhode Island. Probably stay gray and damp tomorrow. But the accumulating rain should have ended by about sunrise tomorrow. So how much with a more realistic HRRR is still generating more than 1.5 inches, 2 inches of rain all the way up into just about Boston. So here on Cape Cod, final rainfall amounts may be in the order of 8 to 10 inches in spots. Wow. And that's how real dry spells end. So this is not a tropical cyclone. It's kind of a hybrid, and it's part of the same front that came through back on September 1st. Remember that? That was the last time we had any kind of widespread shower activity, and it was so sticky to end out August. And then that was a record cold high-pressure system that came in back there at the beginning of September, evolved into a record warm high-pressure system, and the front was stalled from the Gulf of Mexico, across Florida, all the way up into northwestern Europe. And we've seen so many storms go along that front, including that tropical almost cyclone that went into the Carolinas a couple days ago. And this is another wave on that same front. And I think a week ago when I said, I don't know exactly what's going to happen because the models are so back and forth, I said, we're at least going to have a wave on a warm front. And sure enough, we're having wave after wave after wave on the warm front. It's not like it's the same low that's just sitting there over the benchmark. It's a new one that develops every 24 to 36 hours, just on the boundary with the Gulf Stream so warm out there and the high pressure to the north of New England, wave after wave. And wait till you see what happens to the front later in the week. I just can't believe I'm about to say this either. It looks like we are going to have Hurricane Helene in the Gulf of Mexico. That's not our problem yet. Here's our problem. Here's the wind forecast from the Euro. And the purple is the sustained 20 to 25 from the northeast continuing even as the rain abates tomorrow. The low is out there, and it's actually looking like it's getting more windy out over the ocean, so that's going to keep the seas rough here. And the wind finally starts to release Tuesday into Wednesday. So Wednesday may be a day without strong onshore wind, but it will still be a light onshore wind. And then watch this. Another front that we've been talking about in the Midwest that's kind of blocked is going to barely eke its way into New England, and then all of a sudden, pretty close to bombogenesis. Next Friday into Saturday, low pressure goes from 1012 to 995. The wind ramps up to storm force around here, and that storm lingers next Saturday and Sunday. We do it again with a stalled nor'easter if this Euro is correct. Now, I say if because this is out of nowhere. This was not seen in the guidance yesterday. And in the lower left there was Hurricane Helene. Now, that is something that the guidance has been indicating, but has come around to a faster solution on that. Oh, boy. So let's go to the coast-to-coast Euro going out now for 10 days. And here's our upper-level low and surface low just gradually moving out over the next 2 days. And the front from the Midwest ekes its way in ever so slowly. And now let's stop it with the front coming into New England and Hurricane Helene coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, or in the Gulf of Mexico on Friday. I hope I got this time right. Friday, I believe, 995 low south of New England, stronger than the 997 tropical storm Helene in the Gulf of Mexico. That would be Friday or so. Wow. And now let's keep that moving and watch what happens. Our little storm, if it evolves and occurs, I mean, there have been signals for it, but not that strong, for some rain anyway here then. And that'll go out to sea, and Helene will be coming into the southeastern United States and potentially coming in our direction in about 12 or 13 days. I am not going to show the GFS. I don't believe in the GFS. I believe in the Euro, and it was the only one that had these rain bands backing toward the west today. And it was kind of onto that, wasn't it? And another 24 hours to go in this play-by-play nor'easter, and the whole thing is play-by-play. Yesterday we chased Left Weymouth, got to Cape Cod, drove through some deep puddles, so a lot of time at Sept Harbor yesterday, where it was not as significant flooding as I thought it was going to be, and then down to Fallon's Pond here, where the water came way up a couple of hours later as the rain let up a little bit, but that beach over there, just to the south of my house, is normally sand, and that was all water. So we'll leave you with that. T-Rex just sitting here all patiently. All right, we're going back in. Casey Kasem from 1972 playing that song Brandy from Looking Glass, and Elvis Presley, Hunka Hunka Love, and the Jackson 5 and Michael Jackson, all on our tunes while we edit. Out the door, weather, and more. Here's the more. And we're on the road again. The porta potties are coming off the beach, the water's coming up on the beach, and we're racing to Cape Cod Bay. Think we can make it, T-Rex, in time for high tide? Oh yeah, and it's raining. Good sized raindrops too. Found the rain band. Amount of traffic, other side barely moving. Oh. Funny. Back in time. T-Rex, it's raining men. We don't care. We like the H2O. Rather rare indeed, where Cape Cod gets the most rain. Usually happens only in tropical situations or offshore nor'easters. I think this is kind of a hybrid of each. No puddles down there yet, but I think enough rain to penetrate that top hard layer. T-Rex shaking it off. Amo, está bueno. Yeah, after it rains for a long time, the ground gets hard and it's harder for the water to run in, but a nice 2-day rainfall is good. Watch the undercarriage here. Yeah. 1:50 p.m. north side of Cape Cod. Going towards Cape Cod Bay, so if the wind is coming from the north and you want to see the water come up, head north. Looks like we've got a little pothole action there. Marshside Restaurant is packed for lunch. This used to be kind of a clam shack, now it's more upscale. And there's a culvert underneath the road here that was widened a few years ago so that we could get the water back up into these wetlands. And so it worked. The reasons there are trees out there is because it was choked off, and but now it's wetlands again. And that's the Sept Harbor over there. That's where we're going. So pretty on that side. How's your side, T-Rex? What are you whining about? I told myself I was going to go to the east side, but instead I ended up on the west side. So we'll do both sides. The water comes up higher on the other side. So far the ocean water is still pretty much in the ocean. Usually the ramp goes down. So far, no flooding. Still another few minutes. Let's go to the other side. I used to go fishing out of here a long time ago. Mr. Parker, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Maloney. All right, now on the east side, Sept. That used to be Win Cobb and family, Sue's house. The Cobbs are still there. And we're there. So that citizens flood watch I issued days ago is verifying. Maybe not so much from the rain, but certainly from the water. Then again, this parking lot pretty much always floods. That's the boat landing over there. T-Rex, we're in the Atlantic Ocean now. There's the mouth. There's the suet. Way up there. And we just turned around the parking lot over there. Going to higher ground. Hi. Hi. We'll find some freshwater puddles to drive through. So look how high the seaweed is. So I think last night it was probably a higher tide by a few inches, but we might not be done here yet. It's called the rack line. Oh, we got restrooms. You need to go to the bathroom. Reserve parking in this lot. Slip holders only. Unauthorized vehicles will be towed, ticketed, or something like that. I'm thinking maybe that's rainwater right there. And as for the wind, it's not too bad down here. The pressure gradient, I think, is tighter from Boston north to Cape Ann with that high pressure building in Maine. And that tighter pressure gradient is going to push south. And our wind is going to increase later today and overnight. So the midnight tide, although not as astronomically high, may rival this one. And again, this is prone to flooding. Oh, look at the gulls. Gulls all pointing to the wind. One's bigger than the rest. That's a blackback. Salt Works Road, Cold Storage Road. Take a left for Cold Storage Beach. Yeah, that's where we keep our stuff cold in the wintertime. Summertime. All the time. The overlooked gem of Dennis and Cape Cod is Cold Storage Beach. Wind is whipping here. Rex, should we go out there and check the wind? Let's do it. Should we go out the door? I don't even have a jacket on. What do you think, Rex? What do you think? Let's see. He often turns around quickly. He's not interested. Prints. Just another day for them. Off to the harbor. That beach does not get replenished. You put rocks up, your beach does not get replenished. This beach gets replenished. He was probably working on a beach down here. Can't stop the ocean. Can't stop T-Rex and TK either. We're getting soaked. Oh, leftovers, shoe sail. can't hear anything I'm saying, can you, anyway? Mouth of Sassoot Harbor. Hard Harbor. Build Hard Harbor. Kill a beach. I think that's good for today. What do you think, T-Rex? Well, TK, you always find more and more and more. That's the thing. Come back for a really low tide. Love the gulls. Look at them all lined up. Just another day in the world of a gull. T-Rex and a TK. Yep. Water's receding. Looks like it came all the way up to the road last night. Or yesterday afternoon. So this one looks a little lower than yesterday, which is a little surprising. Last time I was here, I think it was a blizzard about 3 years ago. Are we gonna have blizzards this winter? You bet your bimini. Or your money back. John Deere and a duck. Duck race. And a blueberry. And a corporation. Stop. How cool is that duck right there? Riding the waves. Coolest duck in town. Is that a loon? Looks like it might be a loon. Lone loon. Corporation Beach. Not too crowded. Alright. That's enough for an hour. Who's that, Rex? Who's that? Who's that, Rex? Hi. The beach is underwater. Sideways rain, sideways rain. All we have in Dennis is sideways rain. Here at Patriot Square, it's kind of an elevated spot, the terminal moraine of the Laurentian ice mass that receded 15,000 years ago. If this were January, I would be thinking maybe this rain will be changing to snow any minute. And even though we've already had 2 inches of rain, we could get a 5 or 10 inch snow on top. So just thinking about winter, a little preview. I know a lot of people aren't calling this a nor'easter, but it's rain and wind. There are huge waves, all coming from the northeast, from low pressure over the benchmark. All right, let's play it out now with a time lapse from Weymouth, where I have no idea how much rain fell today. But we're passing 2 inches here in South Dennis. Sideways rain, sideways rain. Sideways rain, sideways rain. Going for 3 inches by morning. Here on the Mid-Cape. All right, say goodnight, everybody. Good night, everybody. Can't wait until this is snow. Great dinner. Next time, smelts. Yep. How's the weather out there? Any better? Sideways rain, sideways rain. Actually, it's kind of coming straight down, but it's pouring. Oh.